Okay, in compliance with the open public meeting law, I wish to state that on June 19th, 2025, notice of this meeting in the Upper Township Committee was posted on the official township bulletin board, the Upper Township website, emailed to the Atlantic City Press, the Ocean City Sentinel-Ledger, the Herald Times, and filed with the township clerk. Tonight's meeting is being video recorded up until the closed session portion of the meeting, and it will be available on the Upper Township website. I hereby direct this announcement be made part of the minutes of this meeting. If everyone would please stand for the flag salute. And after the flag salute, I'm going to ask you to remain standing. We have lost a dear friend of the townships and a fellow retired mayor. Dan Lockwood passed away this morning from Middle Township. So I would ask everyone to please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Joanne, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Casaccio?
Here.
Mr. Knappman?
Here.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Here.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Here.
Mayor Corson?
Present.
All members are present.
Okay, we're going to start with the report of governing body members. Start with you, Victor.
Oh, that's great. I never get to go first. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for braving the heat and coming out to join us on this evening. Speaking of the heat from a EMS perspective, please make sure that you're staying hydrated out there, checking on friends and family that might need it, taking good care of your pets in this crazy little heat wave that we're in, which I would imagine will still be here next weekend when we have our summer kickoff celebration. EMS will be on site providing care to anybody that needs care in that moment. Our EMS camp kicked off today for the kids. They had a great time, according to Chief Britton, who sent me a text earlier today, and that's going off very well. And echoing Kurt's sentiments, Dan Lockwood was a very, very great man. He and his wife Sylvia were very influential and helped us out a lot, so my condolences to Dan's family at this time of loss. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Zach, do you have anything to tonight?
Well, yesterday I was fortunate to get to Stratford Beach. Again, Public Works, great job on trying to get the pathways up there. I was there for the bubbles on the beach for brain tumors. Always a good event, good cause, everything. Just echoing what Mr. Knappman is saying, definitely stay hydrated. It's way hot out there. It's good.
All right. Sam, do you have anything tonight?
All I'd say is we have our summer celebration this week. Please come out and support this event. It's going to be a wonderful time, and thank you to Public Works and to Larry Cole for helping plan the entire event. And I look forward to everyone being there.
Tyler, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'll be brief, Mr. Mayor. Had preliminary discussions with a neighboring town this week about possibly using our court service now that Dennis Township has left, and it was a nice, productive meeting. I don't want to give too many details and get ahead of myself there, but a good start to the first negotiations there. And we had a couple big meetings as far as CO and everything this week that are ongoing projects, so nothing to reveal yet, but staying plenty busy.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
And I just want to remind everyone our 4th of July celebrations are going to be held, and we hope to see everyone there. And I want to caution everyone, if you have fireworks and you set off fireworks in your yard, please be cognizant of the extreme heat and the dry conditions. Also, the Upper Township has the residents of Stratford do a parade. Now, the Township Committee has been involved with the Upper Township Parade for years, and it works well. It's a wonderful parade, and it's run by the citizens of Stratford, and it works so well because government is not involved, but we were involved as participants, and we were all invited, and hope to see everyone at the Upper Township Stratford Parade, July 4th at 10 o'clock. So moving right along, Jim, do you have anything for us tonight?
Hey, appreciate the opportunity, Mr. Mayor. Fourth week on the job, right? So the three things that I'd like to touch upon is I've been working diligently with the engineering community, trying to line up, make sure we have a seamless transition from our two engineering firms to ensure the township is postured in the weeks, years, months ahead to pick right up where we left off with Ryan and the amazing work he's done, and to ensure there's no gap in coverage. Second thing is I've been successful in completing my first round of meet and greets with the staff. My initial impression is impressive. We have a key group, extremely knowledgeable professional team at Echelon, doing the yeoman's work, doing great things, who know their job and just do wondrous things for this community. And then the last thing I'll touch upon is I've had continual engagements with DEP, Chris Constantino, Mark Davis, to ensure our compliance with the emergency beach dune permit, while working with Mr. de Blasio and his team in the months ahead to ensure that these emergency permits become a thing of the past and we operate on a beach and dune maintenance permit for the out years that sustains us and then allows us to avoid these problems we're experiencing right now.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Joanne, do you have anything for us?
I have nothing, thank you.
Okay. John, do you have anything for us tonight?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We'll talk a little bit, obviously, later. We have a public hearing for liquor license renewal that everyone knows about. I'll touch on that when the time comes. But I also just wanted to briefly touch on each of the 5 of you are aware of some of the ongoing issues that we've been dealing with at Osprey Cove. I know that I've gotten calls from a number of you related to residents that have reached out to you, providing you with information as to those issues. I just want to make everybody aware that we are diligently acting where able and necessary to remediate some of the issues that have come to light and ensuring that any conditions of site plan approval pertaining to that property are followed through on. I want to make clear, though, because I know there's some residents here tonight that are part of that community, everything that we're doing is to ensure that the approvals that development had in place from the time it was created, that they're adhering to those things, right? What we're not looking to do is get involved in a private landlord-tenant dispute. I've discussed this with all of you guys as well, right? There's public interest here. There's also private interest at work. So I just want to make clear to the residents, we're not attempting to get ourselves involved in that, but be aware that we will ensure any issues that relate to site plan requirements for that property and the current owner are adhered to moving forward. So just be aware of that, and I'll continue to touch base as issues arise, should they. That's it for now.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Barbara, you have anything for us tonight?
Just want to say thank you to Ryan. It was a pleasure working with you, and wish you well. That's all I have.
Ryan, do you have anything for us tonight?
I'll keep it very brief tonight. Since tonight is my last meeting, I just wanted to say thank you to the committee. Definitely gave me all the support I needed in my time as town engineer, so thank you again. I also want to thank the township staff who have been great to me in my time here. Joanne, John, Barbara, as well as Liz, April, and Dory in the construction department. And on top of that, Craig and Mike from Public Works. The township has a great staff, very good professionals, and definitely have a great future ahead of you. So again, just wanted to say thank you. Hope to work in the township in the future and wish you all the best. Thank you.
And I just want to say, Ryan, it has been a pleasure working with you. And Ryan is still going to be around because there's a couple projects that he's going to finish up for us. The Living Shoreline is one of them. The bike path.
Oh, yeah,
is another.
we have a couple, definitely.
Yeah, that
No.
one. So there's a few projects that Ryan's going to be involved with, and it's been an honor and pleasure working with you, Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you. I
And
appreciate
obviously,
that.
the pickleball, I think, is what you're going to
Yeah,
Sure is.
pickleball that's on the top of the list.
Yeah, Ryan's still my guy.
No.
So, all righty. Moving right along, we're going to ask for public comment for anything on the agenda, limited to agenda items only. Would anybody like to comment on anything on our agenda?
And I'll note the public hearing that's scheduled for later will have a separate public comment period.
Yes. State your name for the record, Natalie.
Natalie Neese. Could you speak to number 5?
That's for the Safe Routes to School grant. It's just a requirement that the DOT makes us do for the grant procedures.
And number 9, what can you say about that?
Number 9,
Yes.
Number 9 is appointing Blasio and Associates as the township engineer for the township of Buck. It's pretty straightforward. We're appointing a new engineer.
You what?
We're appointing a new engineer.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the public that would like to comment on the agenda items?
Did you already pull this?
Hearing no public comment at this time, we will close the public portion until the next public portion.
if we could get a motion second for the minutes.
Oh, sorry about that. I missed the minutes. Would anybody
I'll make the motion.
Second.
please call the roll?
Mr. Casaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
Yes.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes, good catch.
Motion carried.
That was,
All consent agenda items listed below are routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. If the mayor or any committee member wishes a particular agenda item to be considered separately, it will be removed from the consent agenda and acted on separately.
Motion to approve.
So we do, we have to just make one correction. So number 17, which is the renewal of the alcoholic beverage license for Lavari Land Inc., that's going to be removed from the consent agenda tonight. That'll be acted on a later date, but we're not in a position right now to be able to approve that by consent.
okay. So with that approval, would you please call the roll?
Can I have a second? I'm sorry.
Second, I'll second that motion.
Mr. Casaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen? Mr.
Yes.
Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carried. Next, we have the public hearing for 201 Willard Liquor LLC, DBA Deauville Inn, the renewal of their alcoholic beverage license for the 2025-2026 license year.
Mr. Crossan is here this evening on behalf of the applicant. Like we hear from her first related to the application and then take things from there.
Good evening, committee. Mr. Van Slyke, nice to see you. We haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, but I look forward to working with you in the future. I'm here with the general manager of the Deauville. Deauville has been operating now for several years under the new ownership. We were before your planning board, and I think, Mr. Corson, you were on the planning board at that time, and we went through several nights of meetings, and during which the neighbors were actively involved. And they made comments, and my client heard the comments and participated and agreed to a number of conditions to the site plan approval. I brought just a few pages of the resolution because it's a 41-page resolution for the planning board. I just brought the pages which indicate that this began in 2021, reviewing the site plan for this property that's been there for over 100 years, which predates all of us, and including the residents who have submitted objections to the committee for its consideration. From what I gleaned from the comments that you've received, the main concern seems to be that the conditions of site plan approval were not attached to the license renewal last year. That's true, nor need they be. My client is fully aware that it can only operate in accordance with that site plan approval and every condition set forth in the resolution, unless and until it goes back to the planning board and receives relief from any of the conditions. It's not seeking to do so. It understands the rules of the game for its operation. It abides by them to the best of its ability. It has posted signs to prevent folks who are walking along the shore, maybe with a drink in their hand, from crossing off their property on the beach onto the state property, which is a continuation of the beach. It's got people standing there reminding the folks that that's state law. It's not a rule unique to the Deauville, but Deauville employees are there to remind people that they can't leave the bar property with alcohol. Could some people get past them? Absolutely. It's not 100%, but they make every effort, and a good faith effort, to comply with the conditions of their site plan approval. If there is a violation of site plan approval, my client, it can be compelled to go, first of all, can have summonses issued against it for zoning violations and can be brought back before the planning board. But to attach the conditions to the liquor license is, first of all, superfluous and unnecessary, but second of all, it complicates their liquor license, because now, instead of going to the planning board and explaining the situation to people who know the property and working with the neighbors to resolve any issues, they're working with the ABC in Trenton, and it could endanger their liquor license and their ability to operate the facility. So the request from the property owner and the licensee, the owner of the liquor license, is to not unduly complicate their liquor license by imposing conditions on it which are already in place. Thank you.
So I think the best way to go about it is that, are you finished?
That's it, unless there are questions.
So the board's got any questions of Ms. McCroskey, you can ask them now. I think the best thing to do after that is then to open it to the public. We'll hear any objection in the room. Ms. McCroskey will have the opportunity to respond to any of those, and then the board can act accordingly as it sees fit. I will just note before any questions are asked, I do agree with the position that special conditions aren't required to be put into a liquor license resolution, right? Special conditions of planning board approvals. I know that in the past that had been done. Apparently in 2022 and 23, it was left out of the resolution last year. But to the point already made by the applicant's counsel, in the event that there's any violation of the requirements that are contained in that planning board resolution, the recourse is to go to the zoning office that we have here, complain of the issues, and have a citation issued if it's warranted. So not having it in a liquor license renewal resolution doesn't preclude this township from taking any action should there actually be a violation that exists. So I just want to be clear. It's been here before. It's been in this resolution in the past. But not having it in there last year, and if you choose not to include it this year, it doesn't preclude you or take away your ability to adhere to remedying violations if they exist.
Is there, attaching it, I understand, can we reference it in the liquor license resolution? Can we say they're operating under approval from the planning board, resolution number XYZ 19?
You absolutely could. You can do it. All I just wanted to make it, it's not required, that's all.
Okay.
But you absolutely can if you choose that you want to go that route.
I mean, so we can reference it, but we shouldn't attach it. Would that be acceptable?
Mayor, if that makes it a condition of renewal of the liquor license, again, that ties the hands of the applicant, who is surrounded evidently by neighbors who question its operation, its method of operation, and perhaps even its good faith in trying to comply with these conditions. I think what the committee might consider is whether it would be better for allegations of violations of those conditions to be handled locally or by Trenton.
And that is the difference. To the point, if we reference it in a liquor license renewal resolution, and there's complaints of violations, the ABC may be the body that's going to hear any sort of hearing over those violations, whereas if they complain of a violation from the planning board resolution, site plan resolution that continues to exist, right, will never go away, then this municipality and those that are entrusted with dealing with those issues here are the ones that would hear those violations.
And numerous violations were reported, and Mr. Van Slyke, and our zoning officer, code enforcement is actually handling some of them.
And I'll note, just for the record, I've been provided with a number of the objections, that were submitted prior to tonight, and I agree. More than 3/4 of those violations relate to zoning issues, not really issues related to a liquor license renewal. So, to your point, I think that's appropriate to deal with it here.
All right.
So, any questions that any of you have for the applicant's counsel?
No.
Okay.
Not at this time.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll open it up to the public. Would anybody like to participate in the public hearing for 201 Willard Liquor LLC?
Hello, my name is Dodie. I'm from Strathmere. I have documents to share with the committee if I may approach and provide them.
Who is it?
She has documents.
Okay.
Thank you for your time this evening. I appreciate it. Good evening, members of the committee. I'm here as a concerned resident to respectfully object to the renewal of the liquor license for 201 Willard Liquor operating as the Deauville Inn unless the special conditions previously placed during the 2022 year and renewed in 2023 are reinstated. There was an arbitrary removal of the special conditions last renewal cycle. Historically, the Deauville Inn's liquor license included reasonable and enforceable conditions designed to protect public safety and community well-being. These conditions, such as sound limits, restrictions on live music hours, and required security personnel and entrances, were reaffirmed as early as the 2023-2024 licensing period. Yet last year, during their license renewal, these safeguards were removed without any documented justification or evidence of improved compliance. After submitting an OPA request seeking records to support this change, the township responded that no such documents existed. This lack of transparency and rationale is, by definition, arbitrary and capricious under New Jersey administrative law, and it undermines public trust in our local government. There has been ongoing non-compliance and public safety concerns. Beyond the lack of justification for removing these conditions, there is substantial evidence of continued non-compliance by the licensee, including unresolved planning board violations, including failure to meet parking and septic requirements, environmental infractions such as a DEP Division of Water Enforcement order to cease operations at their beach bar that has been in place since 2024, the entire year. There's also ongoing CAFRA and tideland violations documented by the New Jersey DEP directly related to portions of their licensed premises, specifically the docks, which they don't have a lease agreement in place yet, and the sandbar, which was built on the beach without a permit and is not approved for use. Failure to control noise, parking, and alcohol services regularly observed by neighbors, and I have photos provided in there, and I can email them so that you will have the metadata with the date and time stamp. The most recent one was June 14th, but there's multiple photos from last year as well, where there was no posted guard when one was required, and people just freely walked out of the Deauville with alcohol in hand. There's been also a significant recent enforcement action at the end of 2023, which should have impacted the renewal in 2024, where the New Jersey Division of Alcohol Beverage Control suspended the Deauville's license in November of 2023 for violations of its ABC regulations. We have a lack of local police force or enforcement infrastructure in Strathmere. Upper Township does not maintain a municipal police department, nor does it have infrastructure to actively monitor or enforce liquor license conditions. As a result, our community relies on the New Jersey State Police for enforcement and emergency response. Incident reports which are provided from the state of New Jersey State Police show a seasonal surge in calls to the Deauville Inn, including property checks, patron disputes, disorderly conduct, and vehicle stops. This pattern strains already limited resources, which are spread across multiple jurisdictions for the state police. Without local enforcement presence, there is no reliable mechanism to ensure ongoing compliance, especially at this high-volume seasonal venue. Moreover, local citizens, many are here tonight, should not have to bear the responsibility of monitoring or reporting violations, as this places them in an uncomfortable and tense situation with the establishment and its patrons. The burden of enforcement must rest with the appropriate resourced authorities to maintain community safety and harmony. There are legal and ethical obligations. The Township Committee is not only obligated not to rubber stamp a renewal, in fact, it's the committee's obligation to legally and ethically perform its duty, to evaluate ongoing compliance with ABC laws, zoning codes, environmental regulations, and local ordinances, to enforce previously adopted resolutions and conditions, and to consider community feedback and documented complaints as part of its renewal process. According to ABC guidelines, municipalities may deny renewal, impose special conditions, or initiate disciplinary action if a licensee fails to comply with applicable law. Moreover, licensees must submit an attestation of compliance during the renewal process. If there are unresolved DEP notices of violation or violations of local ordinances, that attestation cannot be truthfully made. It is a false attestation and itself is grounds for denial or revocation. We are seeking reasonable and proven solutions. To address these concerns, I respectfully request the following conditions be reimposed, and you don't have to reference the planning board. I agree, it complicates things. Just list them on the license. No septic pumping before 8 a.m. All music controlled by sound limiters in compliance with state decibel limits. And this is not unusual. Most every bar in Avalon and CL City have these special conditions on their liquor license, and they renew year over year without the need for a public hearing. Valet parking, Thursday through Sunday, from May to October. Live music limited to 2 sessions each of the 3 holiday weekends, and all live or DJ music ending at 9:30 p.m. Also, security personnel stationed at all public access points, especially the heavily trafficked beach entrance, to monitor alcohol-related activity and prevent off-premises consumption. Having someone stand there with a Dovel shirt on and letting people walk out freely is not compliance. Adequate staffing to ensure that open containers are not removed from the premises, because this is in compliance with ABC regulations. These are not new requirements. They were previously implemented to address real and ongoing concerns. In the absence of evidence that these risks have been resolved, the reimposition of these conditions is both necessary and prudent. Additionally, I'm requesting that the committee require the Dovel to seek the installation of a physical barrier to apply for a CAFRIN permit with the DEP, such as a simple rope and post barrier to clearly define the limits of its licensed premises. This measure, with appropriate DEP review and approval, would help limit alcohol-related activity from spilling into public areas. Other establishments in Cape May County and Atlantic County have successfully obtained such permits to mark and manage their licensed areas responsibly. We have no responsible management of the licensed premises here. Examples would be Icona and Diamond Beach and all the beach bars in Atlantic City. They have fencing or ropes that mark off their licensed premises. Therefore, I respectfully request that the committee reimpose all special conditions that were imposed in 2022 as specific line items on the license, not referencing the planning board resolution. I'm also asking that as a condition of renewal, they should have documented compliance with their planning board resolutions, environmental enforcement actions, and all applicable in state and local ordinances. And that this committee should delay final action until the applicant provides proof of resolution of all known violations. For the record, I have submitted photos and documentations of observed violations, including patrons exiting the licensed premises with open containers, copies of the notices of violation, notice of action, and an administrative order from the DEP. I've also attached a copy of my OPA request to the township requesting how it made its decision to remove the special conditions, and there were none. This is not an opposition for opposition's sake. This is about fairness, accountability, and public safety. A liquor license is a privilege, it is not a right, and the public deserves transparency, enforcement, and responsible oversight from local government. Thank you for your time and for your service to our community.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Yes.
Ted Kingston, Strathmere. I'm here to support my neighbors that are here. I would think that the township would want these restrictions in the liquor license to help with enforcement. The township doesn't seem to want to really bite into the enforcement aspect of this. I know the neighbors don't like this at all, having to come here and complain all the time. It's like the last thing any of the people I know that are here is want to come here like, bitching about the Deauville. The help from the state liquor license board would benefit everybody. It would take some of the pressure off you. It would take the pressure off the neighbors from having to be the rats. I think the real reason that it's feared is because, as Dodie said, the state shut them down for a few days a couple years ago. You wouldn't have seen that from the township. No offense to anybody, but there's just not the stomach here for that enforcement. So, like, everybody would be better off. They've already acknowledged that the restrictions need to be applied to. So essentially what you're doing by putting it in the liquor license is getting a little more help with enforcement. And I think it kind of worked in that they're, we've kind of reached an equilibrium. Taking those restrictions away, it's like, then they know they don't have to fear if those restrictions aren't the license. All they have to fear is the township, which hasn't really went after them.
Well, Ted, as you know, the politics in the political arena has changed tremendously. We have a code enforcement officer who's been about a year on the job, I believe, plus or minus. Somebody can fact check me, I'm sure they will. But obviously we have a new administrator who's been here about a month. It was brought up at the planning board meeting where you were at, and since then they've met with the complainant, they've met with the Deauville, and some of these issues are being addressed, and they will be addressed. But the liquor license is not the platform or the agenda or the venue to address some of these items. So, but some of these issues are being addressed.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I mean, couldn't we put them back in the liquor license and see how we are further down the road?
We're going to follow our legal advice, and we're going to have a discussion after the public hearing.
I'm not sure what you're telling me. I'm sorry.
I said we're going to have a discussion after the public hearing, and we're going to follow our legal advice, not their legal advice. We're going to follow ours.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public?
Natalie Neese, Petersburg. I'm not in Strathmere. I have attended some of the meetings about the Deauville and the concerns. I think what I heard tonight was Mr. Ammenhauser say that these were concerns that needed to be addressed by the planning board. And you, Mr. Corson, I believe you just said they are being addressed by the planning board.
The planning board does not address the concerns. The planning board hears an application. Once the application makes it through the planning board process, it is up to the code enforcement to enforce the planning board decision and resolution. The planning board physically does not go out and inspect the site or enforce it.
But the code enforcement does.
Yes.
And you said now we've had a changeover in code enforcement so that.
We had a changeover in administration. The code enforcement was on the scene, I think, Thursday.
Well, I mean, we're talking 100 years, and things have changed. And I heard the term arbitrary and capricious, and I think it would be unfair to put conditions against the Deauville at this point. I mean, we have other liquor licenses, and I'm sure the state of New Jersey does as well. And to me, I think that could be a real liability to the township, as this woman requested to not renew the alcohol license. I think that the issues need to be separated out. I mean, there's certain things that go with the ABC, and then the deep issues that have been going on in the township and changing over the last 100
Zoning
years.
violations have nothing to do with the liquor license. We at this point in time, correct me if I'm wrong, John, we listen to ABC violations. We're not here to address zoning violations.
it can all it can all enter into your mindset, right? When you're determining whether or not to do this, you can think about zoning issues should they exist, but you're not limited to enforcement of any violations of zoning issues through resolution renewing a liquor license. You've got the authority through your zoning office and your code enforcement office to address those issues. So what I was referencing earlier is that it's absolutely not a requirement to have those in this resolution. If you wanted to include them, there's nothing stopping you from doing that, but it is not a requirement, and you're not precluding yourself from being able to enforce the code and any violations that exist if you didn't have it in the resolution.
Okay,
Is that it?
I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Natalie.
Natalie.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the public?
Hi, good evening. Victoria in Strathmere. In 2022 and 2023, it was deemed important to have these zoning conditions put on the liquor license. Nothing has changed in the positive direction since they were dropped. Everything has gotten worse with the Deauville. And I know frequently when the council for Deauville stands up here and speaks, they talk about it's a 100-year-old business. We would love the 100-year-old business to be back. It is a hugely expanded, looks nothing like the business even of 8 years ago. So.
Well, that's not practical. I mean,
I'm
just like you
just
would like
saying, I'm
to
saying
see
it's
the
a-
100-year-old business back, I'd like to see the houses from 100 years ago. But that
No,
ship
no, no.
has sailed.
I get that, but it seems to be an important point that's brought up over and over again by council, that this is a 100-year-old business, as though that gives it some credence for what it's doing. And I just object to that. I also object to the idea that the neighbors object to its operation. We don't object to its operation. We object to its operating out of bounds on a regular basis and continuing to get worse. So being that these conditions were in there before, they were taken out last year, it's significant, it was bad before, and there was no code enforcement. We complained and wrote letters, nothing ever happened. But there was no reason to take it out. Now that it's been taken out, it's way worse. And I agree with everything that Dodie said. I agree with everything that Ted said. It gives more teeth to enforcing this. And they seem to be very concerned about these being in there, and because they're not complying, they're not taking the effort to comply. And the stuff that was shown to you guys, we've witnessed it over and over again. I have tons of pictures to show. It's just gotten way worse. It's an incredible circus atmosphere around Deauville, and it's a strain on the environment, and we need more help in bringing them within some realm of compliance. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Mark from Strathmere. If the Deauville were complying with everything that was in the site plan and were following all the rules and regs of the township, the county, of the DEP, of the state, we wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be having this discussion. But unfortunately, that's not the case. There are violations of sound, of parking, of alcohol leaving premises, of guards being posted, of septic pumping. Dodie provided a fairly comprehensive list. The Deauville has had an ABC license 3 years, 3 different seasons. The first 2, the conditions were attached, and if you actually read the license, you will see that both the Deauville and Ms. McCrossin agreed to and accepted the conditions, and they left. So you ask, why put them in here if the real recourse is just to go to the site plan? The reason is, there's several. It's an opportunity for the township to tell the Deauville, we're really serious about these things. We're so serious that we're teeing them up and putting them in the ABC renewal, so you know we're taking this seriously. Why on the highway is the speed limit posted in multiple places, multiple times? So people are reminded that this is the law, this is important. So my request is that the conditions that were attached to the license, the first 2 of the 3 years that it was approved, be reinstated. That's all. I think it's an important message from the town to the licensee.
And what years were the conditions attached?
I'm going to touch on that because
Okay.
I know it's come up a few times now. So the first 2 years, 22 and 23, those conditions were attached. In 2024, this past year, they weren't attached. But I'll note there was no objection to the renewal of the license filed by anybody last year.
Because they were following the conditions in 2020.
I don't know why. I can't speak for it. I wasn't here. But there was no objection filed last year.
Yes,
And without objection, that license was renewed without any special conditions at the time.
I'd like to correct something as a matter of fact.
Sure.
It was attached for the 22-23 season and the 23-24 season. It was attached twice.
Right.
It was not
right
attached
first
to the
two.
24-25 season. So there are 3 licenses attached the first 2 times, not the third time.
Okay.
All right.
Any questions or?
Nothing.
No.
Nothing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The Dovilles had their license since 2019 as well.
Okay.
Linda Bateman from Strathmere, and actually I have a question for a planning board member. Do site plans change? Was there, or was it an incorrect assumption that the restrictions would carry forward? Everyone assumed they would stay in place as agreed upon.
If a site plan changes, they come in. Obviously, part of a site plan review or site plan application, yes, the conditions could change. It's just not, that's why they come back in front of the planning board or zoning board, is to change the condition that they had.
If there was a condition in a site plan approval, it can't be changed unless there's an amended approval granted.
Okay, so I guess I'm asking the wrong question. Were we incorrect in assuming that those restrictions would be enforced until someone came and changed the site plan? I don't understand.
No, enforcement.
That decision was made.
Enforcement isn't going to happen just to happen, right? If there's a complaint that somebody alleges there's a violation that occurs, that's when typically the municipality will go out and investigate. So that's the opportunity to do that has been there since that site plan was approved. Nothing's changed in that regard.
This zoning and code enforcement, there's not enough manpower, and nowhere that I am aware of do they go out and take the resolution and do an annual inspection of a business. The township does not have the resources to do that.
Exactly.
And they do not.
But does the township have the, I thought that the site plan as approved by the planning board was in effect until it was changed.
Yes.
It is.
So these violations, so that there was, what was the reason that it wouldn't have been attached? Wasn't the assumption that that they would continue to carry through?
So I'll just repeat what I said earlier. There's not a requirement for it to be attached.
I understand that.
Even if it's not attached, it does not preclude the municipality from enforcing the requirements of that resolution.
Right.
So,
But to imply that people didn't object last year when the assumption was that those would be contingent.
I was just
is my
stating a
point.
fact. There was no objection last year.
In these people's defense, Joanne, Victor, and myself were the only 3 of these that were actually involved with this last year. Nobody else, there was different legal counsel, there was different administrator. It was probably not attached by a pure oversight. I don't know why it wasn't attached.
We did not receive any objections, nor did we receive any complaints that I know of until late August
Yes.
regarding the security, people leaving the premises.
And I have one other question that I'd like you to consider. I can't figure out how the township benefits, whether the Deauville has 50 people there on a weekend or 400 people on a weekend. We don't have a resort tax. What we do have is stress on our community, on our first responders. When they advertise weddings for up to 400 people or giant parties, that's great. But what do we benefit from that? We have more calls to the police. We have more calls for ambulance. We have more stress on the neighbors. And finally, I know that Doty has been very active, but Doty is impacted by this, and Doty has faced repercussions, as have many of the neighbors, up to and including her address being put on Facebook, people riding by, throwing trash, hollering at her. So it's not easy, neighbor against neighbor, and it's not easy to live where you would expect to be able to open your windows, where you would expect to be outside and not hear music, not hear things. We can hear from blocks and blocks away, if the wind is right, we can hear the speeches at the weddings. It's not an exaggeration, and we feel, for instance, the violation of the picnic tables stored in the parking lot all winter long. where were the cars gonna go? It's in the plan that you have X number of spaces, not just in the summertime, but X
That's
number of
a zoning
spaces.
violation.
It is a zoning violation, and is it up to us for the entire winter? No one from the township would have noticed that? Why is it up to us? It would be great for it not to be up to us, not for us to be the ones who have to complain.
Yeah, I honestly, I did notice them. I think they were put there sometime late November or December, and I did notice them. And
Well,
the alternative
point is,
Ma'am, can we?
do you want to
You
hear
ask
from us?
questions.
It's
You have
not
to
as
give
if-
them the ma'am. You have to give them the opportunity to respond to the questions.
the alternative was they should have left them on the beach, probably, which probably would not have been the safe or smart thing to do. And then we'd be complaining because they were washed out to sea and washing up on the beach. So
I doubt
I
that.
think there is a solution to that, but that doesn't
That's just
belong.
an example. That's a
That does
business.
not belong in this hearing, or is it part of this discussion? So that was part of the discussion they had Thursday, and there's going to be an ongoing discussion.
My point is that just because you don't hear complaints, because we don't want to sound like those whiners that are always complaining, just because you don't hear things, it just means that people may have given up, or maybe they don't want to be the ones to stick their necks out over and over and over again. We really do need your help and your support.
Yes. Is there anyone else?
Mike Jones, Parking Authority for Upper Township for 2024. What would consider you not to approve the liquor license for the Duvel? Like, what is a violation? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. Like, alcohol leaving the premises, loud music.
I view loud music, parking, those are, in my opinion, more akin to zoning issues. Leaving a premise with alcohol and not monitoring that is most certainly a liquor license related issue.
Thank you. So working Parking Authority last summer on Saturday and Sunday nights, Friday and Saturday nights, I met many wonderful people in Strathmere. I saw many people leave the Duvel out of the front entrance on the Willard from the Duvel. I never witnessed one person leave the Duvel with open containers. There's another bar down the street on Bay Avenue. They came in droves from down Bay Avenue with open containers. I watched it for 4 hours. I listened to the Duvel get blamed for leaving trash through Strathmere of drink cups. But yet, for all the hours I worked in Strathmere, I never saw alcohol come out the front door of the Duvel. I never once heard music at 9 o'clock at night from the Duvel. Now this is Friday and Saturday night, so I would think that you had music on Friday and Saturday night. Okay. Never once, and I was parked right next door to the Duvel. I never heard their music. I never had an issue with raucous people, fights. Yeah, did I see drunk people? Absolutely. They have a business in Strathmere. They employ a lot of residents. I would love to not hear a septic truck before 8 o'clock in the morning.
The township's in violation of that one with our own porta potties.
Okay, so to live in a perfect world, none of us would hear a porta pot or a septic at 8 o'clock in the morning. In a perfect world, nobody would hear a gas lawnmower running at 6 o'clock at night. Okay, but we don't live in a perfect world. It sounds to me, in my opinion, that most of the alcohol that's leaving the Duvel is going out by the state park. And they're not even people that are parked at Strathmere. They probably have boats, jet skis down on the inlet. And that's where they're leaving from. Now, maybe Duvel put a couple extra people on duty and watch the alcohol leaving from the inlet side.
Was it leaving from there, or was it being turned around when they were trying to enter the Duvel with alcohol?
Sorry, I didn't hear you first.
Were they leaving there, or were they turned around when they tried to enter the Duvel carrying alcohol, which you're not allowed to do either?
That's very possible, but from where I sat and where I saw everything, I don't know that. But just from everything I'm hearing here, is we have a business that employs a lot of people. And this is why everybody lives with inconveniences. If you don't like the inconvenience, a lot of people don't like here to decide, if you don't like his business, then you should have bought it. And then you could have opened up your own business. The guy is making a living. He's cleaned the place up. Working with Julian and Adam. Craig and I have worked with them hand in hand between the Duville and yesterday's, or Creekside Tavern, I'm sorry, with their recycle dumpsters, their container areas, and they've been nothing but great business people.
Is there anyone else who'd like to?
Good evening. My name is Sophia Wisniewska. I live on Bayview in Strathmere. I've been living in Strathmere since 1976, and I support my neighbors in a request to reimpose the 2022-2023 conditions on Deauville. There are huge help when it comes to decibel readings, parking problems, and alcohol violations. And I ask for your support in doing that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to comment on the Duville liquor license? Hearing no more public comments on the Duville liquor license, we will close the public portion of this meeting, and we're going to.
So I think at this point we should allow Ms. McCrossin time to just rebut or react to any of the public comment made.
Thank you. I want you to know that my client is not unsympathetic with the neighbors. Although the neighbors shouldn't have to have a copy of the site plan and the conditions handy, and the code enforcement officer should not have to come to my client's site with the list on a clipboard and check things off. I can tell you that Adam Motter, who is the general manager, does have a copy of those that he keeps handy. There is a sound limiter. They do have valet parking. They do post people to try to keep them from walking off the site. They do the best that they can, and they are serious about a good faith effort to comply with all of the rules that they need to comply with to keep the establishment open. They understand that violating the site plan conditions could jeopardize the liquor license and the business, so they take it very seriously. They're not happy that the neighbors are feeling put upon by this business, and they wish that they could get along better with the neighbors. They make every effort to. As was pointed out, they're not the only establishment in town where some of these infractions could emanate, but they certainly are not pointing fingers at their, co-licensees or the other folks in town who have licenses. There are open DEP files. I can tell you that the owner of the Deauville has been working for over a year on a plan to install a new septic system in order to eliminate the frequent pump out of the septic, the current septic system. And that will be coming forward as another upgrade to the property, one that will not be visible, but which will be impactful for the neighbors. So he continues to try to address the concerns of the township, be a good neighbor to his neighbors, and upgrade the property in the way that the DEP requires and comply with all the township and the ABC regulations. We thank you for the time tonight.
I have a question. At the beach property line, is there signage?
There was. Yes, there is.
Is there any kind of snow fencing or anything of that?
Sir, can you
Just
step
along
to
the dune. It's a very highly sensitive site environmentally, and as I think it was Doty pointed out, we would need DEP approval to put up anything. The tables were pulled off the beach while they were doing beach maintenance.
Yes.
And of course they'll be put back, and they were put in the parking lot when the parking lot needs were not as great. So they'll certainly not be there when those parking spaces are needed when the place is busy. Those are the kinds of adjustments that I think all of the resort business owners make in the off-season, preparing for the next season. If that's a problem with the township, it's certainly something that we'll talk to code enforcement about and work around.
I think there's a way they can sort that out.
I'm sure there is.
Whether it's they use 5-6 parking spots and they close 4 tables inside for the winter while the parking, I'm sure there's an achievable solution there.
Those kinds of adjustments can absolutely be made, and my client will and continue to work with
Yeah.
zoning officials as needed.
I mean, they're not the only place. I can tell you there was almost across the street, there's another establishment. They had parking tables in a pile in their parking lot for a year and a half.
And they may have a few fewer parking spaces than the Deauville does.
Quite a few fewer. So,
You guys have any other questions?
is there any way you could investigate like a split rail fence or snow fence temporary while the beach bar is open?
We are working on some DEP approvals, and I can absolutely talk to the engineer who's drawing those to see if that would be something that's possible. As you know, putting up anything on the beach can be difficult. But if Doty has seen these in Atlantic City, they're evidently permitted in some places. That may be the beach and this is the bay, that could be a difference, so we can certainly look into that.
Maybe some kind of temporary snow fence for the season. I'm just, spitballing with you.
If there's no other questions, anything else?
We have nothing further.
All right.
Thank you.
So with that, at this point, it's obviously up to you guys through a motion, second, and vote to consider what you want to do with this application. So as I mentioned earlier, the special conditions we noted were imposed in license renewal resolutions prior to this past year's resolution where it was removed. As I mentioned, there was no objection to last year's renewal, which may or may not have been the reason that it wasn't imposed at the time. You're not under any obligation to impose special conditions on a liquor license renewal, right? If you choose to do so, you can, but again, you're under no obligations to do it. You've heard the objections of many of the surrounding property owners and residents of the township. Many of those issues appear to center around zoning issues, not all, but many. And there are other avenues for which you can enforce those violations should they occur, as I mentioned to you earlier, particularly through your zoning office and code enforcement. That said, if you want to impose special conditions, it's completely within your purview.
Well, I think the conditions that were imposed in 22 or 23, obviously, and it wasn't last year, it was removed for some reason, and I venture to guess it was probably an oversight.
I can't speak to it.
I honestly don't really remember, and I wasn't, obviously you weren't the legal counsel at the time, so you...
Don't know. Nothing in the record to suggest why. So at this point, what we'd be looking for is a motion second and then a vote on the request.
Was it detrimental? Was there any reason not to put the conditions back in? Was it detrimental at the ABC, or I guess for the applicants?
Yeah, you can answer that.
Every one of the conditions that you've been asked to put on the liquor license are in the planning board condition. I didn't hear any that the neighbors proposed that are not already rules that we have to follow. So the fact that they were on the liquor license, not on the liquor license, will not make a difference to my client's efforts to comply with all of the rules it needs to comply with.
And the potential detriment was discussed earlier is that if it's in the resolution for a liquor license renewal and there's issues or violations alleged to have occurred, it may be the ABC hearing that issue as opposed to the local planning board where the municipality has more of a say. So it's a matter of, if we put it in there, this may be people in Trenton making a call on this issue. If we don't, and there's issues, it's coming back to the municipality, in a sense, through violations issued by your zoning and code enforcement officers.
The only previous condition that's not in the planning board resolution is the security guards at the entrances. That would be the only one that we could not control through zoning. It would be related to their alcohol.
Be a special condition.
So we could put...
Absolutely.
Security guards at the entrances, including the entrance to the Corson's Inlet Bridge property during all hours when alcohol is served. The other ones are in the planning board resolution.
Well, gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
While this is being discussed, I do have a conflict with the Deauville and also yesterday's Creekside, so I do have to abstain from this discussion.
Thanks for giving us that.
Sorry. I didn't get a chance to get a word in edgewise.
So with that, I think you should, anytime you're making a motion, I think you should make it in the
I'll make
affirmative.
the motion with no special conditions.
How you vote is ultimately up to you, but the motion's on the floor in the affirmative to renew the license.
I think we should, if we're going to use the planning board resolution, I think we need to be, the planning board resolution has no reference to the security. I think if we should, if we're going to security at the entranceways, I think it's now or never.
Yes.
So
maybe the better motion may be motion to approve the renewal of the alcoholic beverage license for 201 Willard Liquor LLC, DBA Deauville Inn for the 2025-2026 calendar year, with the condition that the licensee maintains security guards at all entrances to the licensed premise, including the entrance adjacent to Corson's Inlet Bridge property, during all hours when alcohol is available for purchase between Memorial Day and Labor Day inclusive. Such guards shall be trained to prevent removal of open containers of alcohol from the licensed premise. Would you like to make that motion?
would you like to include that in your motion, John?
No. I'll make that motion. Well said, John.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Cosaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
Abstain.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carried with 4 in favor.
And I just do want to state for the record that the Deauville establishment is governed by the planning board resolution of approval. If there is a violation of that, if somebody observes a violation, please reach out to code enforcement and our business administrator, and it will be addressed.
All right.
So that motion did the resolution. And the number 20, public hearing and final adoption of ordinance number 2, 2025, an ordinance establishing salary regions for the Township of Upper for the calendar year 2025.
At this time, we will open it up to the public hearing for ordinance number 2 of 2025. Would anybody like to comment on ordinance number 2 of 2025? Hearing no public comment on ordinance number 2 of 2025, we'll close the public portion and ask for a motion to introduce.
We do need to amend this ordinance and reschedule the public hearing and adoption.
Okay. So we're going to table it, I guess.
We will.
We're just going to amend it. We need a motion to amend it and move the public hearing to the July 14th meeting.
Okay, I will make that in the form of a motion. Would somebody like to second for the purpose of it? And we will have another public hearing in,
July 14th.
okay.
Mr. Cosaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. Can you restate where we're at?
We're going to amend the salary ordinance and move the public hearing and final adoption to July 14th. We added a assistant claims coordinator position for $1,000, and we increased the beach sweeper payment, our
I'll go
hourly
with that one. I
wage.
just wanted to make sure it wasn't still a Deauville. Yes.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carried. Under new business, we have the South Shore Stitchers request to hold a raffle, RA 601, at the Upper Township Community Center on October 18th, 2026.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Cosaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
Yes.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Payment of the bills. Mr. Pleasure on the bills, down.
I hereby move that all claims submitted for payment at this meeting be approved and then incorporated in full in the minutes of this meeting.
Second.
Mr. Cosaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Knappen?
Yes.
Mr. Sam Palumbo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carried.
At this time, we're going to open it up to the public. And we're very happy everyone's here. We'd like to hear from the public.
Hi, my name is Robert Lynn. I live at 215 Kingfisher Court in Osprey Cove. My wife Patty and I moved down here 8 years ago, and we moved to Osprey Cove because it was a beautiful community. And since we have lived here, we love Upper Township. The Public Works guys are great. Everybody has been
really cooperative, even getting a license for the dog. You know, it's just been great. We lived in Clarksburg, New Jersey, and we had the same thing. It was just beautiful. We just loved our community. We never had issues. That's why we moved down here to retire. This is our retirement home. And I know that you have to follow the ordinances and the state laws. And I would never ask you to do anything to get involved in lease negotiations or things like that. But the main thing we're concerned about is things that are in what we understand are in the ordinances, like trash removal, like lawn maintenance. I mean, and your public works guys have been out looking. So when they say that the public works guys aren't on the street, they are on the street.
It's actually been our code enforcement.
Code enforcement, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, your code enforcement. And I stand corrected. And they're really nice guys. But our atmosphere and the everything has changed since last October when Mr. Branton from Maryland bought Osprey Cove. And Mr. Branton, doesn't matter his personality, but he never even introduced himself to us until our residents complained about his 30% rent increase. Now, you have a business, I understand he has a business, and he has to make money. But because, to use the old saying, he got suckered into what he paid for Osprey Cove above the assessment, that's on him. He shouldn't take it out on us. So he has. And he's been playing games. Like, one day we have our trash cans out, next day he takes it. And he made a statement, which was, and I'll be brief, he made a statement, which is hard to believe, but he made a statement. I said, we have older ladies and older men that can't put things into the dumpster. He says, that's why you get insurance, quote. And I'm like, that's just not the right thing to do. Maybe that's acceptable in Florida and Maryland where he owns his place, but we go by the law here.
Part of his resolution for approval was door-to-door pickup. That was a condition upon his approval.
Right. We didn't even have a sniff.
There was not.
Of inappropriate with Harry Vandersloot.
There was not, on his site plan, there was no dumpster facility or any dumpster facility located. That is in violation of his site plan approval. We are actively handling this.
Yes. Okay. And that's all we want. We just want attention for...
You got our attention.
I got it. and that's fantastic. And that's all we want. And we, honestly, we love this township. And I'm not saying it to suck up to you guys, but we tell everybody about this. This is a great township to live.
I know
your park system. Okay, sorry.
A couple. Tyler and I have personally, Saccio and I have personally been handling a lot of phone calls, and I've given my personal number, plus my township number, and I'll give my personal number if anybody wants it. Feel free to call me. We've handled a lot of complaints. We've talked to a lot of residents, and we are actively doing everything we can to make sure the property owner follows
The same thing
the
as we talked about.
resolution that was granted him approvals.
As we just discussed with the Doe bill, they have certain things in the planning resolution that they have to abide by. It's the same thing with Osprey Cove. There's certain things in that planning resolution that he has to abide by, just like they discussed the curbside trash pickup. And eventually, like you said, when there was the grass issue, the grass gets too long, that's a zoning violation as well. We understand the trials and tribulations you've been down there with your landlord-tenant disputes. And like I said, we obviously have no advocacy role in that sense for you, but anyway, he has an agreement with the township. We intend to hold his feet to the fire in that agreement, especially in that planning board resolution for you guys to make, for sure.
I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Thank you for coming out tonight, Robert. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Maureen Stahl. I'm from Osprey Cove also. I just, everything you said, I'm fully aware of. The thing about the dumpsters is now there's flies, there's maggots, there's the odor, and he placed them by the pool in the clubhouse. And the other thing I was wondering if you guys could address maybe eventually with the town, he's talking about putting gates on our entrance and exits. And personally, I was present for one accident on Route 9, and there was two on Route 50 that I know of, and I'm sure my neighbors have seen more.
The one was a drunk driver that veered off the road and went through the fence, but that,
Okay.
so that doesn't
Well,
count.
yeah, right. As you come south, I guess it is on 50, that's a double yellow line even for us to make a left. So I have a law enforcement family, so it's like, you know.
You can make a left legally across the double yellow line. My driveway is protected by a double yellow line.
Okay,
Still
all
use
right, well,
left
that's
and
good
right.
to know, okay. But the thing is, if he puts a gate in there, does he have to come before you
Yes.
guys? Okay,
That would be through, it wouldn't be before this body.
Oh.
But he'd have to go back to the planning board for an amended site plan approval because that's not part of his original approvals. And just like we talked about earlier, anytime you seek to amend in a significant way a previously approved site plan, you have to come back
because
before
there's
the
not
board.
much of a shoulder there, if there's any kind of a backup. And we are kind of, like, we all need our readers, and if we're gonna be pushing buttons trying to get into our,
I believe if you put a gate, it would not be there would have to be somewhere inside the property so they, 2 or 3 cars could wait behind it. And once these gates open, you can drift behind the person ahead of you.
I mean, because we always have, like, there's a gazillion, Amazon, FedEx, UPS is always
Oh, it's
coming.
gonna be a nightmare, yes.
Okay. All right, well, and the other thing is the trash cans. They come, they go. I mean, I help take care of an old neighbor. Some of us, you know, help out. There's a lot of people that are ill. They never thought they'd have to move. Their increase is over 30%, and some of it's like $211 a month, and that's grocery bills for them. So I just thought that if there's anything the township might eventually look at with helping seniors with maybe a rent cap, because we are a 55 plus.
There is some state legislation. I personally am in favor of it, and I'd like to see the governor get it off his desk. So.
Can the township do anything? I mean, I know that's a state
We
thing.
could have rent control. It's not as easy as it seems to have a rent control. We'd have to have a board.
It's quite expensive as well to run a
The
rent.
board would have to have a solicitor, an auditor, and it would probably cost the township $100 and some thousand a year just to have a rent control board. So it's something, if it could be done at the state level and controlled by the state level, we certainly want to piggyback it.
I mean, we do have just a sidebar, we do have a wonderful community. We do look out for each other. We leave each other alone, but we're always there if somebody needs something. And it's just, it's kind of a shame. The entire community is kind of a little different. We're all a little off. The landscaping, we had a landscaping company. He wants $211 more, but we don't have a landscaping company. We have the Avalon Campground teenagers, you know, coming at all hours and cutting one lawn twice and one lawn not at all. It's just like he's broken all the things that were in, any of the good things that were in our lease.
Yes, well, yard maintenance is something that the construction or code enforcement has looked at down there. And has not been in violation yet. I don't know what the parameters are, but we are doing a lot of research on that.
It's just sloppy. It's not as manicured as it was. I get it. It's not like up to our knees or anything. And a lot of us, well, the first thing the dumpsters filled up with was Ryobi and steel and,
And there's no recycling.
lawnmowers and boxes because people are cutting their own.
Yes. So,
But, okay, well, thank you very much for
thank
any
you,
help
Maureen,
or
and
support.
It's a pleasure seeing you in person. I believe I talked to you.
Yeah,
before.
we did. You were so on it, and Tyler called me right now. In fact, I hung up on him to get to you.
John, do you think you could just quickly explain to people here?
Yeah.
They've been in violation of the trash
Right.
curbside pickup already once. What's the next process? What's the next steps?
So, my understanding is we knew they were in violation of their site plan approval. It was made known to the property owner, and he then adhered, at least temporarily, to the requirements for curbside pickup. Now I understand that there are issues again where certain trash receptacles haven't been returned, and you're unable to have the trash picked up curbside as soon as today or tomorrow.
Correct.
So if that doesn't occur tomorrow, then he's in violation of his site plan requirements. The township can then, and we'll talk about this, can issue a citation against him. If a citation is issued and it's not remedied to the acceptability of, or up to the requirements of the site plan, meaning you all have it available to you again right away, then he's going to eventually get drug into municipal court and have to deal with potential fines and violations by the township.
John, just for the record, I believe there was a citation issued Tuesday when they were picked
There was
up.
one. Okay.
Kurt, can he be cited for helping all this too? Would the county help not picking up trash?
We'd have to, we'd have to ask them. I mean, get them involved, but it's possible. Yes.
I think if your trash is not collected.
Well,
He has them locked up.
Hold on. The only thing I want to say, we have to, during public comment, it's one person at a time. You have to be at the microphone and on the record. And I'll note, too, I just want to make sure, this is, I'm not picking on either of the two of you who already started, but we are limited to 5 minutes a person, just so that we can make sure that we get through everything this evening, because there are a number of people here. So I just want to make sure that's known.
Well, I just raise your hands. How many are people from Osprey Cove? Obviously. Okay, thank you. Obviously, we're all here for the same reason. You're all here. I mean, so we understand it. Please, let's move forward and try not to be redundant. But we all understand.
You said it a lot better than me. You said it a lot better than me.
If you all could just, I'll let you go, and then if you're all in agreement, that's a wonderful thing, and you don't have to hear from 30 of you. We'd love to, but yes, sir.
I appreciate your time, sir. My name is Greg Heffron. And I appreciate the comments that have already been made, and I'm not going to I'll try not to be redundant. I only have basically one question dealing with a site plan. Does the owner have the right to come in and change that site plan?
Yes, he does.
The right to petition for an amendment, but it's ultimately up to the board to decide if they're going to grant an amendment to that. So he can't unilaterally do it.
He's got to come in. Would be a public forum, public meeting, and I got to believe there's going to be 110 residents at the planning board, and I don't see it changing.
Okay, thank you. And one other thing concerning the, it's already been mentioned that it's difficult to open those dumpsters. We've already had 2 reports of people injured with the lids coming down on their arms and hands. And
the dumpsters are in direct violation of the site plan. There's supposed to be trash pickup at your curb. That's what you signed up for. If it was me, I would either put my trash in front of the dumpster and let somebody else put it in there, or I would curb my trash tomorrow in a plastic bag and see what happens.
Good idea. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, I just have a couple questions.
So, just your name
I'm
first.
sorry, Betty. Osprey
Your,
Cove.
your last name?
Riley.
I talked to you today, I think.
Yes, how you doing? First of all, the dumpsters do not recycle. So everybody is just throwing everything in there, and we are a recyclable state. So I don't know if that's in violation. And I hear he can't have the dumpsters are in violation. They're still there. We're going to get our trash cans. He can't do that. We don't have them back.
When does all this settle out?
So here's the only other thing I should note this. We can issue citations, right? And there are time frames that he's going to be provided for compliance, which he's got to be. We're not talking about lengthy time frames, but he's going to have a period for which to comply.
Okay.
If he doesn't comply, then a court date will be set. We don't control that, though. That's controlled through the municipal court system. So when things are going to be remedied, we can't tell you definitively. All we can tell you is we can take corrective action in order to ensure that he is being cited for when he's violating those requirements of the resolution. And then what happens from there is really out of our hands in the immediacy, right? That it's with the municipal court.
But how many times is he going to be cited and fined before something's done?
As many as
That's my question.
As many as it takes.
He'll be cited until he complies with the resolution.
So if we don't get trash cans back by tomorrow for our trash.
Right.
Yep, code enforcement
He'll be
will be out
cited
there.
and fined.
Code enforcement will be out there. They'll cite him for the dumpsters and they'll cite him for the usual trash curbside.
They already, he's been cited as of last week when the trash cans were removed. He was cited.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I have to look at what the get right timeline is when he has to correct his problems. 10 days comes to mind, right? And so we might be in that 10-day window currently. I don't have that site.
Well, we got our trash picked up last Tuesday. He took them back. Then we got that day. Then we got them back.
So if he's within that time period, he's still able to
Some
comply.
got them back, yeah.
If he's within that time period, he's still able to technically comply. And if he complies, then he's compliant again, and we're not going to proceed forward. In the event that he doesn't comply, that's when it gets elevated to a potential action in the Superior Court where he's going to have to show up. We have a municipal prosecutor that we will be in touch with to let him know the concerns, and they'll handle it through that avenue.
Okay. And I understand that the dumpster is supposed to be on a concrete slab, but it's not.
Dumpster's not supposed to be there at all.
At all.
Not at all. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And by resolution, he is obligated to pick up your trash curbside.
Right.
So if tomorrow's trash day, I would put your trash at the curb.
Just like that?
He can be cited too for not reciting.
Yes.
Yep.
Brian has to do the one to approve the dumpster.
Thank you.
He can cite him for that.
We'll send Brian down there tomorrow. That's perfect. We can have a wonderful day. Yes, please step forward and name for the record.
Nancy McCluskey.
Excuse me?
Nancy McCluskey.
Good evening, Nancy.
I ran into a resident who said that her trash was supposed to be picked up, but it wasn't. And I'm wondering if the people who have signed the new lease and have paid the $925, if their trash should be picked up, as opposed to me, who's paying the old fee of $713, and my trash isn't picked up because I haven't paid the $925 and I haven't signed the lease. That's
So
it gets confusing to me anyway.
if I can, in the same way that earlier when I was giving a report, I had mentioned that we're not getting involved in a private landlord-tenant dispute. That goes for him as much as it goes for you, right? So the site plan resolution didn't contemplate having to be paid whatever rent he said he was entitled to in order to be compliant with it. So we're not taking it into consideration. If he is, it's going to result in violations.
Okay.
He is obligated by his approval to pick up your trash,
Okay.
whether you pay your rent or not.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else? I see you coming.
Hi, Susan Steidel. I'm not going to talk about trash.
So can you repeat your name? I'm sorry.
Susan Steidel.
Thank you.
No trash on my agenda. But I'm an Osprey Cove resident. I have a question that you might need to look into. Is part of his approval snow removal and what the extent is? Because it was terrible last year. We relied on his people versus a professional to snow and soil.
I'm not even sure. I certainly, when I looked at when I recently looked at it, I wasn't looking for snow removal. So I'm not sure.
It was not there, or you?
No, I'm not sure if it's that. I wasn't looking
We were
for it
looking at
specifically.
trash and grass, not
Well,
snow.
it's 90 degrees out. Think cool. And maybe we could look into that because it was horrendous. We had slip and falls last year, and
What I would recommend is if you don't have a copy of the site plan approval, you can obtain one right through the office. And it's voluminous. There are a number of conditions in there, but you can observe it, see what's there, and if he's in violation of anything beyond those things that we know about,
Is that a record?
it's been the theme of the night, right? To go to code enforcement or go to your zoning office. But that's exactly what to do.
Okay.
It's not online now.
Just, I'm gonna ask you folks, let our clerk scan it in, and we can provide an email copy, and you can circulate it amongst yourself. I would like
I'd recommend somebody submit an OPRA request to the clerk's office, Open Public Records Act request.
Okay.
You can specifically request that resolution, and then when one of you has it, what you do with it
you
is
disseminate it
up to
amongst
you.
yourselves, and we'd prefer not to see 110 Oprah requests.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come? Hearing no more public.
Oh, wait,
okay.
Natalie.
Okay, let's go, Natalie. Yes.
Natalie Neese, Petersburg. I'd like to say that I'm sad to see Ryan McNeil leave.
We are too.
Yes, we are too.
We are too.
And also for the business administrator to come here, he had an in-house engineer. And what is it now? An 800 number? I mean, you really didn't say anything, but I also have an issue that I've been working with Mr. McNeil.
Well, your issue is not going away. We're trying to resolve it. We have our legal counsel is well aware of it. Your issue will be resolved.
Okay, because that's...
And it's not an 800 number. The new engineer is a Cape May County-based engineering firm. So they're not from far away. They're here. They're going to be around.
And the engineer does work for the township. If you have an engineer question or request, you put the engineer, what's happened in the past should not happen. Residents should not be taking a professional and tying them up. If you have a request or a question, you can turn it over to our administrator and we will get it resolved.
Okay, so...
It's pretty simple. If you have a legal question, you ask our clerk or our administrator, they find out. You don't call our township solicitor. You don't call our township engineer. You don't call, it gets resolved. There's a chain of command, I guess.
Well, I'm sure there's other outstanding issues in this township besides mine, and I believe when the last business administrator left, you said publicly to contact Joanne, the clerk. So when issues came up, that's what I did.
Well, you can contact Joanne, the clerk, and or the township administrator. That's what you can do. Yes, you can contact either one.
Okay, but for my situation, what is the status now that McNeil's leaving?
Well, we're not going to talk about it in public comment.
No,
but
just where do I go? Who do I talk to?
Well, I would contact Township Hall.
Natalie, it's because you talked to me that you are as far along as you are. So you can still come to me, you can come to Jimmy, and we'll give updates on the status.
Jim, or Joanne would be your point of contact.
Jimmy or Joanne?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any more public comment? Hearing no more public comment, we'll close the public portion. We'll introduce a motion to go into closed session. And after that motion is read and finalized, we're going to take a couple of minutes. We'd like to come out and meet a couple of you folks. So,
I hereby move a resolution be incorporated in the minutes authorizing the Township Committee to enter into executive session for the following matters pursuant to Open Public Meetings Act. Matters 1, personnel. 2, litigation DeMarzo versus Upper Township. 3, contract negotiation EMS services. 4, contract negotiation municipal court services. 5, contract negotiation video recording services. I will also include my motion the estimated time and circumstances under which the discussion conducted in closed session can be disclosed to the public as follows. A, it is anticipated that the matters discussed in closed session may be disclosed to the public upon determination that the Township Committee that the public interest will no longer be served by such confidentiality. B, with respect to the employment and personnel matters, such discussions will be made public if and when formal action is taken or when individuals involved consent that can be made public. C, with respect to the contract negotiations, such matters will be made public when negotiations have ceased and there are no longer a reason for confidentiality. And D, with respect to litigation matters, such discussion will be made public when litigation is complete and equitable appeal period has expired.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Cosaccio?
Yes.
Mr. Mappin?
Yes.
Mr. Sammalombo?
Yes.
Mr. Zach Palumbo?
Yes.
Mayor Corson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right.